The purpose of writing a paper is to communicate your ideas. To be successful in this, you need to write effectively. In addition, if your reader keeps seeing problems in formatting, incorrect punctuation, or other technical problems, they'll be distracted and they won't be thinking about your brilliant concepts. So everything counts. First, make sure you use correct footnote and bibliography formats. Standardized formats help convey that you have control over the critical apparatus of your paper. They also help your readers identify and locate additional sources they will want to read. Jonathan Bellman summarizes the nature of good writing in his book, A Short Guide to Writing About Music. He says, elegance in writing consists chiefly of a balance between three things: economy, the logical presentation of ideas, and an attractive variety in wording and syntax. Economy means that you won't use any more words than you actually need. If you've created a good outline before you write your paper, you'll present a logical presentation of ideas. To create an attractive variety in wording and syntax, don't use the same words over and over. You should also vary the sentence length and structure. Here's a list of excess phrases that you should not include. They sound nice, but they don't add anything to the specific content of the writing, and they just take up space. Phrases like, in the statement above we can see that, it is clear that had it not been for, it is important to investigate, it is significant that, one must consider that, it should be noted that. These don't say anything. Don't repeat ideas and words unnecessarily. Listen to this paragraph. Bershmerkis began to compose the concerto in Iowa City. As he composed the concerto, he worked very hard on it. His composition of the concerto caused him great effort. This great effort led to his total mental breakdown. When he was hospitalized, his doctors believed that he would never recover from his total mental breakdown. Nonetheless, Bershmerkis recovered from his total mental breakdown. Bershmerkis' excessive effort and hard work on the concerto caused his mental problem, but because he recovered, it was not a total breakdown. See how many times this writer included some version of the same expressions? Compose the concerto, great effort, mental breakdown, recovered. That entire paragraph could be shortened into only 32 words. Bershmerkis began to compose the concerto in Iowa City, though with great effort, which led to his mental breakdown and hospitalization. Although his doctors believed that it was not possible, Bershmerkis recovered. Jonathan Bellman's book has a lot of other good advice about writing. First, academic writing may be complex, but that doesn't mean it is necessarily boring. Some ideas, particularly ideas about music, are simply complicated, so the writing has to reflect this. Analysis does not mean blow by blow. Sometimes theory papers require you to go through an entire piece of music and analyze it. But your analysis should support your main ideas about the piece. You shouldn't be describing everything that happens in a piece of music without a reason. Accuracy in wording is crucial. If you use the wrong word, you will not accurately express what you mean. Vary your sentences in length and construction. Remember Bellman's idea about attractive variety? Listen to this writing. This sentence has 5 words. Here are 5 more words. 5-word sentences are fine, but several together become monotonous. Listen to what is happening. The writing is getting boring. The sound of it drones. It's like a stuck record. The ear demands variety. Now listen to this paragraph. Now listen, I vary the sentence length and I create music. Music, the writing sings. It has a pleasant rhythm, a lilt, a harmony. I use short sentences, and I use sentences of medium length. And sometimes, when I am certain the reader is rested, I will engage him or her with a sentence of considerable length, a sentence that burns with energy and builds with all the impetus of a crescendo, the roll of drums, the crash of cymbals, sounds that say, listen to this, it is important. So write with a combination of medium, short, and long sentences. Create a sound that pleases the reader's ear. Don't just write words, write music. Your writing will flow better if you use transition words. Use these for amplification. Furthermore, in addition, moreover. For contrast or qualification, use however, but, or on the other hand. To illustrate something, say for example, or for instance. But don't overuse this kind of language or you'll sound somewhat pompous. Other great advice is that if you must repeat an idea, don't say, as stated previously. If you have to write this phrase, it suggests your outline is not good and your ideas aren't arranged in a logical flow. Instead, add something new to the old information so the reader feels the prose is moving forward. Next, I'll cover all the things writers do that drive me nuts. Please don't do this. Don't write like the composer is in the piece. Most of the time, the composer isn't. They're already dead. Verschmerkes does not modulate to the dominant. The music modulates to the dominant. We do talk like this, but it's better not to write that way. The composer already finished the piece. They're not writing the music as it goes along. They are not running up and down the staves, moving the notes into place. Use a variety of verbs, not just use. Saying the use of is unnecessary. And don't just substitute utilize for use. Don't begin sentences with the word this. Make sure it's clear what it, this, or these are. Listen to this paragraph. Verschmerkes composed the concerto in Iowa City, and he modified the manuscript significantly. This was the basis of his belief that he had created the Great Midwestern Concerto. This gave him multiple reassurances that he was a genius. However, these made him an unbearable jerk. It's really unclear what this refers to in this paragraph, so it isn't clear what the author is talking about. Likewise, he or she should refer to someone in the immediately preceding sentence. Verschmerkes composed the concerto in Iowa City. The piece was considered to be the Great Midwestern Concerto by many critics. He thus had multiple reassurances that he was a genius. He is not correct in this sentence because he's not in the immediately preceding sentence. You should make conclusions to your paper based on your thesis, and you should summarize the major ideas. Writing conclusions is often really hard. I hate writing conclusions. But don't just substitute a cliche such as, he was great, or this piece was highly successful and popular, or this developed into the music of today, or it's now standard repertoire for the saxophone. Another thing you probably don't want to say is, more research needs to be done. Some scientific studies end with what the next step in the research would be, but you don't want to suggest to your reader at the end of the paper that there was some additional research that you failed to do. Feel is a verb, not a noun. Feeling is a noun. Music does not have an upbeat feel or a Spanish feel, though it may have feeling or create feelings. Lots of people say feel in colloquial language, but try not to say it in scholarly writing. Another common expression is that something is based off of something else. Don't say that. Say based on. Melodies, harmonies, or textures cannot be airy. This word only applies to woodwind or maybe brass tone. Don't say something is unique. Very little in this world is actually unique. Using the royal we or one Makes your writing sound incredibly pompous. As we recognize the validity of Schnickelgruber's comments, we can begin to understand his compositional output. However, one is deeply disturbed by his aesthetic beliefs. Ugh. Try not to change verb tenses in the middle of a paragraph. Listen to how weird this paragraph sounds. The second theme is lyrical and features solo flute. The closing material was based on its opening intervallic structure of descending minor thirds. In the development, the second theme is transformed through contrapuntal manipulations. IT' means it is. If it doesn't mean it is, it shouldn't have an apostrophe. Now for some technical matters. Number and fully label all musical examples and refer to them in the text. Say, as seen in example 3, or see example 3. Centuries should be spelled out. Write out 19th century. Don't write 19th. If you say in the 19th century and 19th century is a noun, there is no hyphen between the words. But if it modifies a noun, such as 19th century music, 20th century music, there should be a hyphen. Titles that are specific, like Kind of Blue or La Traviata, should be italicized. Generic titles like sonata, symphony, or concerto are not italicized. When referring to a specific piece like Beethoven's Symphony No. 9, symphony is capitalized. But if you're talking about all of Beethoven's symphonies would not be capitalized. Students often mix up hyphens with dashes. In fact, there are 3 links of this kind of punctuation: the hyphen, the n dash, and the m dash. A hyphen merely links 2 words. N dashes are used between numbers, like dates. Use these on your recital programs to make them look like they were professionally printed. The M dash is what we typically call a dash. It should be used to set off prose within a sentence. No spaces around it are required. Don't use a tiny hyphen for this. It looks really, really dumb. A complete sentence will have punctuation inside the parentheses. Otherwise, punctuation goes after the parentheses. In America, punctuation goes before quotation marks. This is a mistake that students make all the time. It may be because they've been reading British publications in which it's different. But in America, we put the period before the quotation mark. Quotations within quotations are surrounded by single marks. If you quote a sentence with a quotation in it, you will have to change its double quotation marks to single quotation marks. When you revise your paper, you should not only revise the writing, you should also take time to revise the punctuation and the formatting as well. Use the bad writing and messy formatting checklist I've left for you on Icon. And a few more little things. Don't forget to include a title. Use the same font size for the footnotes, block quotations, and bibliography text. Your word processing software may make your footnotes smaller, but you can change them. Include footnotes and a bibliography. Bibliographies are usually arranged alphabetically by the author's last name. If they're long, like for a dissertation, they might be divided into different sections like books, articles, scores, recordings, etc. For this class, if you'd like to leave your bibliography in the format of the template, that's just fine. Call it a bibliography and center the word bibliography. Please number the pages of your paper. Please number the pages of your paper. Save your paper in multiple locations, not only on your laptop, but on Dropbox or a flash drive. If you've got a big project, it's important to save it in multiple places often. One more tip: make sure you proofread your paper, as there are too many problems hat spell check software does not catch. It's likely that too manly errors will cause the teacher to deduct points from your grade. Make sure you proofread your paper, as there are too many problems that spell check software does not catch. It's likely that too many errors will cause the teacher to deduct points from your grade.